Fair.
Right, I'm press record.
That's how
Uh,
the interview should have started.
it should have been, yeah.
That one line,
Keep
and
that
then
in,
we
keep
should
that
just
in.
cut it short.
Okay, let's roll with it. This is the Cyderbaby show. I'm talking to Dead Man's Whiskey. Hello, guys.
Hello.
How you
How are
doing?
you?
Elliot and James, yes?
Yes, sir.
Indeed.
Yes, I'm glad I got that right because it can be quite embarrassing when I get it wrong. It's not the first time either. You guys, you've been doing rather well for yourself in the last couple of months. Masquerade, that was a cracking single.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you
that's the
very
one
much.
we were that was like we said, it was our sort of litmus test for the album. So we're
Right.
glad it sort of went down well because it was a bit of an introduction into where we're going with the new album in terms of sound. Because obviously it's a tiny bit heavier. It's still got our old sound, but just has a few more sort of metal influences in there. And it was
Um,
like, and it was obviously the first time people had heard the stuff that we did with Chris and Colin. So it's always going to be like a massive sort of departure from where we were before. So
Yeah.
yeah, it went down well. We were very pleased with how it went, to be honest.
What about you, James? Different direction, really, for you, isn't it?
yeah, I think the point where we were like, oh, this is a bit different was when we started thinking about adding kind of orchestration in
Mm.
there. And I think we've kind of made a name for ourselves for quite like stripped back, going Boris, get us to the chorus kind of music, which so this that was a real departure. But it was I think when we were writing the album, that was the song where we felt like, okay, we I think we've afforded a chance to take some more risks here
Yeah.
because we felt like Masquerade, it just felt good when we played it to sort of, I guess, close friends. They were like, that's great, keep doing that. And I feel like, as Elliot said, it was the litmus test for the album, not just for, I guess, what the rest of the fans would think, but I think for us when we were writing to be like, okay, let's take more risks on this record. Let's bring in some more influences. Let's kind of bring in some new instruments. And yeah, the reaction's been awesome. We played it live a few times and it's always gone down well. So yeah, couldn't have hoped for more really.
Yeah, well, you mentioned live. I saw you for the first time when you supported Fallen State a couple of years ago.
Oh wow, I wish I was that.
That would have been a Bideford sold out show.
The Bidford.
Um,
Oh yeah, that one. That was
yeah,
the second show of the tour. Yeah,
yeah.
we remember.
So that's first. That was my introduction to you guys. I mean, this is quite different. I mean, the direction you're going in now is quite different to your older stuff.
Well, I
Yeah.
think Elliot's in part responsible, but for the I think when we started writing this album, we said we didn't want to just rehash stuff
Mm.
because I think in lockdown we listened to a lot of music, and whenever we would hear kind of new albums by maybe other bands, we felt like it's kind of ends up sounding the same, where there's only so many producers you can work with, and it's just drums, bass, guitar, vocals, and we kind of felt like we needed to expand things a lot more, bring in some different ideas, and just give people something a bit more risky, but
Yeah.
something where they were kind of maybe they wouldn't like it, but we would at least like the music to kind of challenge people's tastes, really. So yeah, we're looking forward to I think everyone else hearing the rest of the album really.
Yeah, I
There's a
mean,
few more there's a few more left turns.
okay. Well, Island in the Storm. I assume that is sort of like the title track of the album because the album's called In the Storm. Is that right?
Indeed.
Yeah, it just sort of happened. Originally, to be honest with you, the album was going to be called Masquerade.
Okay.
So the artwork that you see for Masquerade on the single was actually the original album artwork that we had. But we'd had that song throughout lockdown, um, and we'd had the album cover designed for the best part of 2.5, 3 years,
Yeah.
at that point. And then we came out of lockdown and we obviously wrote a few more songs during that period and we released an EP in that time and we decided to hold Masquerade back because we were like, this is the sort of caliber we want. And in hindsight, we were thinking about holding some of the other songs back, but then we were like, we need to put something out. Um, but we just decided one day that we wanted a bit of a change. Like I say, our music's changing. We wanted to sort of change our visuals with it. And the cowboy theme that we had stuck with for the last few years always did us a bit of a disservice to an extent, where people would turn up and be like, "We expected you to be Southern rock," and it's
Yeah.
like we're not Southern rock. We get compared to Blackstone Cherry and stuff a lot, who are debatably not necessarily Southern rock as well
Mm.
in places, but it was more like, yeah, we thought let's have a change, and it was more. it summarized where we were all mentally at the time. We just come out of a massive sort of pandemic and stuff, and the country was taking a bit of a turn, and we were like, this is more the message that we feel now and what our music is reflecting more than the actual, like, I guess, happy-go-lucky side where we were a bit jaded to an extent with the industry. We were more like, we don't really care about that, and people aren't going to care about that quite as much. We care more about the bigger picture and what's going on in people's actual feelings and what everyone's going through at the moment. And we were like, we want to write more about that, and that's sort of more what the album should be about. The only thing we wanted to avoid genuinely was coming out and writing a lockdown album, which everyone was going to do. We're like, no one wants to hear about it. Like, we don't want to hear about it, so no one's going to want to hear about lockdown. We were all there.
We did a lockdown EP.
Yeah, but none of it was to do with lockdown, and half of it was written before. So
yeah, I mean, there is definitely like a change. Like, I think if you listen to the last EP we did, Breakout, despite the fact that the imagery is that of a lockdown, a lot of the music was actually written before everything shut down. So it was kind of written at a time where we'd just come off playing Download, headlined the Camden Underworld, gone to America to play the Kiss Cruise, and there's all like kind of upbeat kind of sound to it. So when you listen to the EP, that's kind of like us sort of pre-pandemic, really, where we were. But then this album, you know, it's really the culmination of about 3 years of, I think, loads of different experiences, whether it may have been the lockdown or like different sort of relationships, different issues we've had between each other as the band. You know, it's a big journey we've been on, and then kind of the whole music industry kind of finding its feet really after the pandemic. So we've been through a lot, and we just felt that title kind of tied the songs together a bit more, to be honest, than just Masquerade. We felt it sold more of a story, to be honest.
Okay, that's fair enough. But it is a hell of a song, though, In the Storm, Island in the Storm. I've been playing the full-length version on the radio.
Oh, thank you.
For the last month.
Fair play. You're
you're
very brave.
We appreciate that, because we hated with a passion having to cut that down. Yeah, it was one of those things. We had very different versions of it floating around. Some skipped out verses, some skipped out. And that's the thing right now. We get told very specifically that your songs have to be a certain length, otherwise don't bother. And we're just like, okay. And then we have this love-hate sort of back and forth where we argue amongst ourselves, trying to get the best version out because we don't want to touch it. It was written in a specific way for a reason. It was meant to build. It was meant to have this very like casual, calming intro into like a sudden shock into more of a build with like calm sections. And it was like, it sort of lost that dynamic a bit in the radio edit. And we're like, we just hope people actually listen to the actual version. But it has been well received. It's just like, yeah, it was one of my favorite songs on the album. And it's kind of heartbreaking when you have to sit there and actually fight to keep it as the song that was written.
Yeah, you don't really want to fade out at the end, do you?
Precisely.
Yeah. But I've really enjoyed it. I don't care how long a song is. If it's good, I'm going to play it. So, and I've been playing it. So, yeah, stuff.
We appreciate that.
What do record companies know, eh?
That they don't want us. Next question.
Oh, that's a very brutal answer.
I mean, we're what?
You'll get used to it.
6 years in the making right now. So yeah, we haven't had a single offer. So we're gonna go with not us still.
Well, to be honest, I mean, what can they offer you anyway? What you haven't achieved already?
What we have achieved already. If I'm being completely honest, they can offer us the festivals that we've already played, which we can no longer play because we're not signed, and it's a game of trading.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, unless you are signed, you do not get the festivals more than once.
You can see where a lot of the pessimism came into.
Precisely. You can see we're a bit darker, and it is a bit glum. But it's like, do you know when you just get a bit frustrated with it all, and that's the stage we're not frustrated. It's just kind of the way the music industry works. It's definitely a reflection in the in the songwriting.
So what you're basically saying that Universal and Sony are the key to festival appearances and things like that?
Not necessarily Universal and Sony. Like, even the smaller people have a say. Obviously, everyone has a band or two on their roster, and if you want that band, you take other bands, and that's just the way the industry works. But it's always worked that way, so it's not anything new. It's just obviously we're at the stage now where we're hitting a bit of a ceiling because, like you say, we've done everything we wanted to do, in the sense that we've played all the bigger festivals. And now we're just trying to get back to them desperately because we loved playing each and every one of them. And the one that we were meant to go back to, sadly not around anymore, unfortunately. And we were looking forward to Rambler Man.
Well, that's back this weekend as Made of Stone, isn't it? So
Different owners completely, but
Yeah.
technically in
It's
the
a
same
different
area.
setup. Yeah, just
Yeah.
it's Moat Park basically.
Yeah, that was another one because obviously we got confirmed for that before the lockdown, and we are meant to be playing the second stage on that, and it's the first time we've actually been bumped up in a festival, so we were
Right.
proper excited. And
Yeah.
we were just hoping it would carry over to Made of Stone, but unfortunately, no such luck. Thus is
I
the
think,
industry.
yeah, really, like this year has been very much the DIY approach. So, for example, everyone was like, oh, you haven't really, we obviously saw you at
Station 18. Yeah.
which was like, oh, you're not doing many festivals this year. And it was like, well, we haven't really been invited. So we had to go to the DIY approach. Basically, you know what? If we haven't been offered, the festivals we want, we just need to do some headline shows. And that was in part why we did the short tour that we did during the sort of April, May period where we played Gravesend, Sheffield, Southampton, Birmingham. If I missed one. But anyway, that was just sort of, you know what? We just need to get out and play, really.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot of work, doing the tour yourself. But at the same time, it's just, Norwich as well. How could I forget Norwich? Who really love us. We were quite surprised how many people came down to see us in Norwich. But yeah, it's been a year where we've had to you just got to do things yourself really in this game a lot of the time. No one's you can't always rely on favors from festivals and radio stations who are businesses at the end of the day. So a lot of the time, if you want to get out there and stay relevant and, spread the word, you just have to do it old school and just book the venue, play, and just from there, really. Yeah, pray.
Well, you have got a big festival coming up now in the next couple of weeks, haven't you?
We do.
Steelhouse.
This one we've been looking forward to for ages. Mainly because we've been trying to get on it for ages. And we actually ran into them at Planet Rock when we played there, which is how we ended up getting the slot. And we're grateful for that. But yeah, we've just been looking forward to it. It's just we want the catwalk.
Yes,
that's the
main. It's the first time.
Wait, caveat: we want the catwalk without there being a thunderstorm, because that could be knowing our bands and knowing how people are not as sure on their feet. That could be catastrophic.
If you're not sure on your feet,
by lightning. Well, the thing is, Nico's eyesight isn't the best. Like when we had we do have a riser, and we did have to put fluorescent tape on it so we could actually see where his foot was in case he fell off. Didn't work. But yeah, so the Steelhouse is the catwalk has been fuck. We've always wanted to have a stage with a catwalk. Even when we played Download in 2019, there wasn't, it was just a normal stage because we were in the Dogtooth tent. Yeah. But we're really excited, and again, just to be on the same bill as people like Blackstone Cherry and Airborne, who, as Elliot's mentioned, I think we've been compared to Blackstone Cherry a bit, but I think when we started, we were we wanted to find like-minded members, and some of the influences would have included Blackstone Cherry, and I remember seeing Airborne a few times and being that's how you do a live show. So it's going to be super cool being on the same bill as those guys, and it's just an amazing festival all around, to be honest.
You're not going to try and climb the scaffolding like Airborne try to do every now and again, eh?
I would love to see one of our members try, but chances are we'll get about 2 foot up and we'll all be out of breath. So,
well, we've already told you that we've reached somewhat of a glass ceiling. Playing festivals again. And that being said, I know that with Airborne, I think it's already before they even do festivals, they're told if you step close to the scaffolding, we're pulling the plug. So maybe we would have more of a chance to get away with it. But
maybe we ask if it's purely on their sets. Because if it's their set, they're not allowed to climb it. They can come and do it on ours.
Maybe.
Because we're going to be sound checking just after them. So we get to meet him. Let's ask him some stupid questions.
Yeah. You've got to have a few shots with the guys though as well.
Yeah, we'll open it up to the public. What should we ask?
Okay, public. Get in touch with Dead Man's Whiskey and please tell them what they should be asking Airborne.
It's always weird meeting people. We've met so many people now over the years, and you can always tell how certain members are going to act in the band because some people were just the least cool people backstage that they could possibly be, and we've had many an awkward conversation. So I love these festivals because I never know where it's going ever until we get there.
Because
And someone
there is
starts
always like
speaking.
one person who's like, your job is to be the social one.
Yeah.
And there's the others who are just like in the corner, just on their phones.
Yeah.
Who are like, so yeah, no, it is interesting meeting musicians when it's behind the curtain, and it's like the last thing they want to do is maybe talk about music. So
you say this up Quarter of the Wild. I got a chance to interview Those Damn Crows, and of course you'll be appearing on the same bill.
yes, we will.
And I walked into the green room where they were, and they all left Shane. Just sat there like the poor little lost sheep he was, and I thought,
that's so harsh.
let's talk about rugby and the English. And
I think next time, I think try and demand to have an interview with Shiner. Just try and do that because he's like, I think he's.
I love
You never
speaking to
talk.
Shiner, man. I speak to Shiner every single time we're at a
No,
festival.
but
He's the
like,
one I
it's an
speak to the
actual-
most somehow.
But for an actual interview.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's his persona. Like, you don't want to ruin it now. It's the whole point in the sunglasses and the cap. It's leave me alone.
Sideways cap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to you guys.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have to?
Well, don't.
I can tell you all their dates coming up. It's so much more impressive.
Okay, fair enough. But you have a new single coming out Friday, yes?
Yes, we
We
do.
do.
Go on, tell me what it's called.
This is the wild child of the album.
Yeah, this is the dark horse of the album. One that I think there were certain songs like Masquerade where we were like, this is a single 100%. We're gonna name the album after it. We didn't in the end, but it was like you just know you've got a winner. With Raven's Cool, apart from Nico, I think we all felt this is a good song. But I think it was only when we went into the studio, and this is an example of how some songs just get a new lease of life when they're in the studio. Because I think working with Colin and especially Chris, our producers, I think firstly they really nailed the tones on this track. It's probably the heaviest track on this album.
No,
right?
No. There's one.
It's close to it, huh?
Time, man.
Yeah, there's that as well. But like, no, it's not as well.
Please don't argue.
We'll beg to differ. But with this one, it's heavy, and I think it has a super like anthemic chorus. I think with this album, when people ask me, what to expect, I usually say it's heavy and anthemic, as in the production, the riffs, everything is really like supercharged. But then it's a lot more melodic on this record, and that song kind of perfectly encapsulates it, where it's got as the heaviness, it has the melody, but then it also has some cool kind of dynamics in between where like certain instruments will drop out. So it's a real journey. It is also, to explain something in this band, every record there is a deal that basically Nico has one song where he is allowed to sing about all the sci-fi, fantasy, and mythology that you can possibly want. But we say you only get one song, otherwise no one's going to listen to this record. By your mates at Warhammer, and this is it really. So this is a song about Vikings. It's also the one song on the record where we allow Bill to use a talk box. So this is the one where kind of leverage was used, but we've played it. I'm not going to bullshit. We have played this a couple of times live, and it's definitely like a new lease of life in the set.
Yeah,
and it's like it's got a real heavy groove to it. And it's one of these songs where like a lot of people on the inside have said, this needs to be a single, this needs to be a single. So I think it's going to be a bit different, but we felt it was, important to give people a slightly different sounding song for this record. And also I'll stop talking in a minute, Elliot. I feel like,
sorry, go for it.
As you like probably gathered, Masquerade is quite heavy in terms of the lyrics. Because it's about the music industry and kind of, I guess, things that happen behind, the curtain. And then Island in the Storm is about the social political situation in the UK right now. So it's all quite heavy. And I think at some point during the writing of this record, Nico was struggling a little bit. And I just said to him, so it's my fault really. I said to him, you know what, if you're struggling to think of lyrics, just go with something that you can have a bit of fun with and enjoy. And he was semi going through a Viking stage where he had like the shaved back and sides and all that kind of stuff, and the big kind of horn of ale that I think he still brings it to festivals. So it's like, just go with that, man. And he did. And we've ended up with this track. So hopefully I've done enough to sell it for you.
Well, we should find out on Friday when I
Indeed.
when I
We'll let the
play it
public
with the
decide.
interview. So we'll let the public decide. But if it's anything like the last two singles, I mean, I'm gonna love it because honestly, the direction you've gone in is just Your first album was great, your EP was great, but this is hitting a spot for me. Every box has been ticked. So if you keep this up, I think you're gonna have a real banger on your hands. So
thank you.
okay,
I appreciate that because we only speak to each other and we've been listening to this for a year now, so we're kind of on we just wanted to get out there so bad and get some feedback, and it's kind of hard to get objective feedback, obviously.
Yeah,
so
we've kind of got cabin fever a little bit with this record, as we're like we've been listening to it and deliberating which song's going to be a single. How are we going to get a radio edit for this? So it's always a real relief. But I was like, I can finally give this song out to the people, and then it's theirs. It's not ours anymore. It's theirs, and so that's always a cathartic moment. So yeah, we're definitely looking forward to Friday.
Good. When is the album due for a release? Oh, definitely silence.
I was waiting for Elliot, but
I just assumed that you would say this one because you've been saying.
I was going to get. It's your turn. It's your turn to speak.
I've actually forgotten the date. That's why I was waiting. It's the 19th.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I'm not going to step in because I haven't a clue.
Is it 19th? It's 19th.
No,
it's 29th.
It's 29th
of September. Yeah.
Sorry, just because I've been doing all the posters.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why I thought you'd step in. Yeah, 29th of September.
All right.
Which was yeah, it's a little while off, but we've got one more single due out in line with it, and then I think we're good to go. I think that's our plan for now.
Okay, so personally speaking, what are your favorite tracks on the album? It's just one each, not necessarily been released.
One each.
I mean,
after you, James. I need a minute.
It's a bit interesting because if I name one that hasn't been released, then I don't know how much weight it will have. But I will go for one that I think first off, I'm gonna cop out. I'm gonna say two, okay? Just because same. I feel like I'm gonna still go with Masquerade, not because I think it's the best song on the album, but because I think it was kind of the shot in the arm we needed. I think, as I said, like beforehand, there are certain songs that are on the EP, which that could have been a direction we went on, which is like stripped back rock and roll, having a good time, all that kind of stuff. Whereas in Masquerade, it was like the lyrics were a bit deeper. The orchestration came in, it was a lot heavier, and we felt like that's kind of where we needed to go. So for me, that's the song that kind of set the bar. So that will always have, I'll always have a soft spot for that one. A track that hasn't been released, I'm probably going to go with a song called Do or Die, just because I feel like that's one of the more different sounding tracks on this album, and I feel like it's just kind of a song where it encapsulates a moment where like everything just came together really quickly. I think it's written about a time where we genuinely like contemplated whether we wanted to continue playing. It was kind of circa early 2022 maybe, where we were like just wondering, we were a bit burnt out, a bit jaded, and we were wondering, is this really what it's all about? And then I just remember like when I wrote a few of the parts for it, Nico immediately kind of felt that the way he was feeling fitted the music, and it all just fell together really nicely. And then it's again one of those songs where we went into the studio and it got elevated more and more and more. So I think that's a song that I guess on a personal level means a lot to me. But I definitely feel like people will be able to connect with that one as well when it eventually comes out, if it's a single or not, or whether it's just an album track. But yeah, that's the one for me.
Okay, you've had time to think now, sir.
Yeah. Well, for me, Island is probably my favorite track on the album.
Yeah.
And then, probably What's Your Name after that, just because it's probably the fun track on the album. Yeah. And I kind of lean more towards the fun tracks on the album. Same with like the EP, went towards the tracks that didn't go quite down as well as the others. But like, it was just like, they're just so much fun to play live, and they have a bit of a groove to them. And it's kind of like, it just breaks up our set, and it's kind of, I think that's why it's another one of those songs that doesn't take itself too seriously, which is just quite nice to have from time to time. And a lot of music is more dark, meaningful, and deep. It's quite nice to have some of the old school sort of rock songs that are just like not throwaway, but like a bit of fun. Here's some easy listening. Here's a bit of a joke. Here's a bit of a upbeat.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about this record is that it's very diverse. But I think we recognize that coming out of, you know, not just the lockdown but other stuff that were going on in our lives, some of the music and some of the lyrics was a bit dark, and I think we kind of said, I kind of thought, you know what, we don't really want this to be like an Alice in Chains record. I love Alice in Chains, but it's like I do struggle getting past like the 30-minute mark because it's a lot. So we just feel like having that kind of lighter element, you know, it was important. And again, it just takes people on a journey. That's the main thing. I don't want it to be the same song about, you know, people complaining about, you know, breakups and stuff like that, or the music industry, what have you. So it's you know, people are going to have a lot to get their teeth into.
Okay, right. So after Steelhouse, what is next for you guys? What have you got planned?
We have
the tour. Well, we have the album launch on the I hope I don't get this wrong.
The tour,
which is part 7th of October, which is that will be the first gig we play after the release of the album. So that will be our first chance to kind of play the bulk of the album, and then after that we are planning to do a tour later this year, hopefully in November time. I said hopefully again, which doesn't sound.
You do keep saying hopefully. Like, just to fill you in, like the reason he's not sure is we've been trying to sort this for about 3 months. I would say getting dates nailed in the UK right now is difficult. Everywhere is like pre-booked or yada yada yada, and there's just one date that we're waiting on, and it's been holding us up for quite a while. And now we're just like we've got all the artwork ready. We're just praying that we can announce it, because the longer we wait, the worse, obviously, for us and everyone else. So it's kind of like, we've been chomping to get this out there, but we just can't until it's done. So yeah, fingers crossed in the next week or two it will be signed, sealed, and delivered alongside this single.
Excellent. So people can pre-order the new album, I assume, on your website, or
wherever? It's actually not hosted on our website. Ooh. It's actually been done through iSaw Merch this time.
But if you go to our website, there is a link. So
there is.
Honestly, we have been bombarding people to pre-order this. So if you go to any of our socials, or if you go to our website, or if you go directly to iSaw Merch, it'll all be there, and it comes in digipack and sweet vinyl as well.
It would be a massive help. And this is the first time in the band's history I don't have to send it out. So if people can order this one, that would be ace, because sending out hundreds upon hundreds of albums on the same day is not something I enjoy in the post office. It's a really beautiful double-edged sword where you're like, I'm so glad so many people bought this, and everyone else in the queue is like, yeah, I'm glad you're doing well, but we've been waiting for like 2 hours. I had to give them my phone number last time, and then they were like, can you just come back at the end of the day and we'll give you a call when we've actually done this in our downtime? And I was like, yeah, sure, cool. So yeah, hopefully that happens again, but I don't have to do the dog's work, which will be quite nice. Okay. So please pre-order. And we have vinyls for the first time. 4 different vinyls, which we're very excited about.
Describe the vinyls then.
Describe them. They're like names. A CD, but a bit bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, I do recall them.
Yeah.
It's before our time, but yeah.
Cutting.
What was it? We got splattered. We have marbled. There are some fancy names. Like it's like one called like Ocean Spray, something like that.
Yeah. We gave them some wicked names.
Pebbled marble. So
do they come with their own?
They look great. I mean, they look great. I mean, you don't even need to listen to them. Just put them on your wall, and they look great.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the artwork, it is outstanding artwork as well, guys.
It is something that we did not expect. Like I say, originally we had Masquerade lined up for quite a while on that artwork. So in our head we had a vision, and it's actually the same person that did those Crows artwork.
Okay.
We were doing a lot of scouting around, and we were thinking like, which artwork do we really, really love? And then Inhale Exhale just come out, and we were like, there's something about that looks really, really quite nice. It's clean, it's polished, and we were like, we want something similar that encapsulates it but has more of a modern edge. And we
and I guess
nice guy.
One of the things one thing that's quite cool about the revival of vinyl is that actually it means that bands are taking album artwork serious again.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're just looking at a little square in the corner of your Spotify app, like what's the point?
Yeah.
But now that more people want to buy vinyl, they want to have things that they put on a display. All of a sudden, it now means that actually, yeah, the artwork is important again, and that's quite exciting. So, you know, we had the idea of the concept, and we just felt like if we found the right guy, then this could be something really special. And yeah, no, it's really exciting just having everything now. I think with this album, it's just everything's just a lot more professional, a lot more proper. It's like everything's been a step up. You know, production, the artwork and everything. So, we really feel like we've done everything we can on this record, and we know people are going to enjoy it.
Excellent. Well, guys, I won't hold you up any longer, and we're running out of time. So thank you for your time. I wish you all the very best for the new single, Raven's Call, which is out on Friday, which is probably the same day as this video is going out, so out today. And I wish you all the very best for the album.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate this and having the time with us.
Oh, no problem. I'll bump into you one day very soon, I'm sure.
Nice. See you soon.
Take care.
Thanks again. Cheers.
Ciao, ciao.